My daughter-in-law posted a TikTok saying, "My mother-in-law doesn't do anything anymore. It's her obligation to take care of the house and the kids." She was laughing while people applauded her sincerity. I just smiled and closed the app. I decided to teach her a lesson she would never forget. When she came home, she couldn't believe what was in front of her eyes. I never thought it would end like this. That at 68 years old, with hands marked by 4 decades of honest work, I would be sitting in the living room of my own home, watching as thousands of strangers laughed at me. It was a Thursday afternoon. I remember the smell of cinnamon in the coffee I had just brewed, the sound of the birds in the yard. I had just finished cleaning the entire house, as always, and I sat down for a moment in the living room armchair, the one I bought 20 years ago that still has its original navy blue color, because I care for it as if it were silk. I picked up my phone. I'm not one of those older women who doesn't know how to use technology. I taught myself, watching tutorials, asking my neighbor Brenda. I got on TikTok because my granddaughter, Olivia, had shown me how to use it to watch recipes and cat videos. Simple things that made me smile, but that day the algorithm showed me something different. I saw Chloe's face, my daughter-in-law, smiling at the camera with that smile I used to think was sincere. She was wearing a pink blouse that I had given her for her birthday. The video started with a catchy song in the background, and her, talking right to the screen. "You know the best part about having a mother-in-law?" she said in a sing-song voice, raising her eyebrows as if she were about to tell the joke of the year. My heart didn't suspect a thing. "That I don't have to do anything around the house anymore," she continued, and my stomach tightened. The camera panned. It showed my kitchen, where I was at that very moment, washing the breakfast dishes they had left behind. You could see me from the back, wearing my yellow floral apron, the same one I've used for years because it reminds me of when my husband, Robert, was still alive. "My mother-in-law doesn't do anything with her life anymore," Chloe said mockingly. "So it's her obligation to take care of the house and the kids. Or what else is she going to do? Sit and watch television all day?" She laughed. That laugh I knew from family dinners, from Sunday afternoons, but now it sounded different. It sounded cruel. The comments loaded on my screen. Thousands. "Laughing out loud, you're right. That's what mothers-in-law are for. Take advantage, girl. Let the old lady work. Oh yes, she needs to earn her keep." I felt something break inside me. It wasn't a loud, sharp pain. It was worse. It was like when you break a cherished antique teacup and the sound is so soft you almost don't hear it. But when you look at the floor, it's completely shattered. My hands were trembling holding the phone. 63,000 likes. 800 comments. Thousands of shares. I turned into the afternoon's entertainment for thousands of people who didn't know me, who didn't know my name, who didn't know what I had built, what I had sacrificed, what I had given. I closed the app. But the image was burned into my eyes, into my soul. I got up from the armchair. My legs held me, but I felt like I was walking on cotton. I went to the kitchen and poured water into a glass. One of those I bought when I got married, almost 50 years ago. I drank slowly, trying to get my breathing back to normal. I heard laughter from Chloe and my son, Michael's, room. She was showing him the video. I heard her voice. "Look, honey, it already has over 50,000 likes. People get it, see?" And then the worst part came. My son's voice. My Michael. The boy I carried in my arms when his father died, and they told me I couldn't raise him alone. The young man I took to school on 2 buses every morning because we didn't have a car. The man I hugged on his wedding day, promising him he would always have a home with me. "Oh, Chloe, you're right. Besides, my mom's old. What else is she going to do?" They laughed together. In that moment, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't break anything. I just smiled. A small, still smile that came from somewhere deep inside that I didn't even know I had. Because in that second, as I listened to their laughter, as I saw the notifications still popping up on my phone still in my hand, I understood something that would change everything. I had been too good, too quiet, too available. I had confused love with invisibility, and that was about to end. I opened the video again. I watched the whole thing, every second, every mocking gesture, every comment that called me a freeloader or a burden. And as I watched, my mind started working. because Chloe had just made the biggest mistake of her life. She had no idea who she was messing with. She didn't know that this house she walked on so comfortably, that she moved through with such arrogance, had an owner. And that owner was not a weak or defeated woman. It was me, Eleanor Vance, and I was about to remind them all who built these walls. I turned off my phone, I took off my apron, I poured myself another cup of coffee, and I started to plan. Because if I've learned anything in 68 years of life, it's that battles aren't won by yelling. They're won by thinking, by waiting, by acting at the exact right moment. And my moment was about to arrive. But before I tell you how I taught them the lesson of their lives, subscribe to this channel, because this story is just beginning. And believe me, you'll want to know how it ends. I couldn't sleep that night. I lay in my bedroom, the smallest one in the house, the one with the view of the alley and not the garden, staring at the ceiling, while I listened to Michael and Chloe's snores from the master bedroom, the one that was mine for 30 years, the one I gave up so they could be more comfortable. I got up at 4 in the morning, like always. My bones already have that internal clock that doesn't need an alarm. I put on my robe, worn at the elbows but clean, and went out to the backyard. The air was cool. It smelled like damp earth, even though it hadn't rained. I sat on the concrete bench next to the lemon tree, the tree I planted when Michael was 5 years old, and that now gives lemons as big as fists. And there, in the darkness still broken only by the yellow light from the street lamp, I let the memories come. Because I needed to remember. I needed my own history to give me the strength I felt slipping through my fingers. I bought this house in 1983. Let me repeat that so you understand. I bought it. With my money. With my hands. I was 28 years old and had just buried Robert. Stomach cancer. 4 months from diagnosis until he closed his eyes for the last time, squeezing my hand as if he wanted to take a piece of me with him. I was left alone with Michael, a 3-year-old boy who still asked for his daddy every night before bed. No savings. No family who could help us. My parents were already gone, and Robert's family disappeared as soon as they knew there was no inheritance. People told me, "Give up, Eleanor. Go back to your hometown, find a man to support you." I would smile at them and think to myself, I'd rather die. I got a job at Mr. Henderson's textile factory, over in the industrial park. The 7 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon shift. I sewed pockets on denim jeans. 500 a day. My fingers bled the first few weeks until I developed calluses so hard I couldn't feel the needles anymore. But it wasn't enough. So I got another job. From 5 to 10 at night, I cleaned offices in a downtown office building. I brought Michael with me. I'd sit him in a chair with his crayons and his little books while I mopped floors, emptied trash cans, shined desks where other people made important decisions. I slept 4 hours, sometimes 3. On weekends, I sold homemade pies that I baked on Friday nights. Apple, cherry, and pecan. I'd carry them in a big cooler to the lawn in front of the church. Michael would help me yell, "Hot pies! Get your pies!" Every dollar I earned, I saved in a metal box I hid under my bed. No splurges. No new clothes. No going out. Just work. Just saving. Just the dream of having our own place where my son could grow up safe. It took me 5 years. 5 years of getting up before the sun and going to bed after it had come up again. 5 years of watching Michael grow up almost without me, raised between factories and offices, eating cold sandwiches and sleeping on borrowed chairs. But in 1988, when Michael turned 8 years old, I signed the deed to this house. It was small then. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a kitchen and living room that were the same space. The walls had cracks. The roof leaked when it rained hard. The tiles on the floor were broken. There was no yard, just a patch of dirt with weeds. But it was mine. I cried the day I got the keys. I cried so hard Michael got scared and hugged me, saying, "Don't cry, Mommy. We're going to be okay now." And I started fixing it. I laid the bathroom tiles myself. I checked out how-to books from the library. I asked for advice from the construction workers in the neighborhood. I bought the cheapest material and installed it with my own hands. I cut myself. I burned myself with the mortar. My back ached for weeks, but it looked beautiful. I painted the walls a light yellow because I wanted the light to come in. I planted the lemon tree. I put pots with red geraniums by the entrance. I built the concrete bench where I was now sitting. When Michael turned 15 years old, we had a full yard. We had his party here. We invited 30 people. There was music, barbecue, a 3-layer cake I made from my grandmother's recipe. My son hugged me that night and said, "Thanks for giving us this house, Mom. Someday I'm going to take care of you like you took care of me." I kept those words in my heart like a treasure. When Michael finished high school, I expanded the house. I took out a loan and built 2 more bedrooms, one for him, one for me. I separated them with a hallway so he would have privacy. I put in his own closet, his own space. "For when you bring home your wife," I told him, joking. He laughed. "Mom, you'll always be the queen of this house." I paid off that loan in 3 years, working double shifts again, without complaining, because it was for my son, for our future. Michael studied business administration at a big state university. I paid for his books, his bus fare, his food. I cleaned houses on Saturdays and Sundays so he could focus on his studies and not have to work. He graduated with honors. We cried together on his graduation day. He gave me a bouquet of yellow flowers, my favorite, and said in front of all his friends, "This is from my mom. She's the reason I'm here." I was the proudest woman in the world. 2 years later, he met Chloe. She worked as a receptionist at the company where Michael got his first job. She was pretty, charming, polite. I liked her from the start. When Michael told me they were getting married, I hugged her and said, "Welcome to the family, dear. This house is your house, too." I believed every word that came out of my mouth. We held the wedding here, in the yard. We didn't have money for a big venue, but we made something beautiful. Lights strung in the trees, tables with white tablecloths I sewed myself, food prepared with help from the neighbors. Chloe cried tears of joy. She hugged me and said, "Thank you, Eleanor. Michael is so lucky to have a mom like you." When they came back from their honeymoon, a 3-day trip to Miami Beach that I paid for, I offered to let them stay in the house while they saved for their own place. "It's not forever," Michael said. "Just until we save up for a down payment on a condo." "Take all the time you need," I replied, and I gave them the master bedroom, mine, the one with the big closet, the window to the garden, the private bathroom I had worked so hard to build. "You're young. You need your space," I told them as I moved my things into the small room. Michael protested. Chloe said, "Oh, Eleanor, you don't have to do that." But I insisted, "Because that's who I am. I've always been this way. I give, I yield, I make myself small so others can grow." Olivia was born, then Noah. I became their full-time grandmother. I watched the kids while Chloe worked. I bathed them, fed them, helped them with their homework. I got up in the middle of the night when they cried so their parents could sleep. "I'm a light sleeper anyway," I'd say. I cleaned the house, cooked for everyone, washed their clothes, ironed Michael's shirts, did the grocery shopping with my Social Security check because, anyway, I eat less. I never asked for anything in return. I never complained, because I thought that was love. But sitting there in the yard, at 5 in the morning on the day after that damned video, I realized something that split me in two. I had become invisible in my own house. Not because I was old or useless, but because I gave so much that I ceased to exist as a person. I became a function, a service, the lady who cleans, cooks, watches kids. And the worst part is, I let it happen. The sun was starting to rise. The birds were singing in the lemon tree. I heard the door to Michael's room open and close, steps toward the bathroom. I dried the tears I hadn't known were falling. I touched the wall of the house, cold, solid, mine. Every brick held my sweat, every tile my blood, every corner my history. And nobody was going to take that from me, especially not someone who never had to build anything with her own hands. I got up from the bench, straightened my back, took a deep breath. The war had begun. But first, I needed to know exactly what I was fighting against. What will happen when Eleanor confronts her son? Will Michael be able to see the truth, or is he too blinded by love? I waited until breakfast. I made biscuits and gravy, Michael's favorite since he was a kid, with sausage, cream gravy, and fresh biscuits. I set the table carefully, clean plates, folded napkins, fresh squeezed orange juice in the glass pitcher I inherited from my mother. Chloe came down first. She was wearing pink silk pajamas that cost over $150. I know because I saw the receipt in her purse, and her hair was in a perfect ponytail. She looked rested, radiant. "Good morning, Eleanor," she said with that sing-song voice that now sounded fake to me. I didn't answer right away. I just looked at her as I poured coffee into her favorite mug, the one with the floral design that she bought herself and that no one else is allowed to use. "Chloe," I said finally, my voice calm, "I need to talk to you." She looked up from her phone, because she hadn't even stopped scrolling to greet me. "Yes? What is it?" Her tone was distracted, uninterested. "I saw your video." The silence that followed was so heavy I felt the air in the kitchen change. Chloe blinked. Once. Twice. Then she let out a nervous little laugh. "Oh, Eleanor, what video are you talking about?" "The one on TikTok, where you say it's my obligation to take care of the house and your kids because I don't do anything with my life anymore." Her cheeks turned red, but it wasn't shame I saw in her eyes. It was annoyance. Annoyance that I had caught her. "Oh, you're exaggerating. It was just a joke." She got up to pour more coffee, turning her back to me. "People understood it was a joke. 63,000 people laughing at me doesn't seem like a joke, Chloe." I heard steps on the stairs. Michael was coming down. He was wearing the pajamas I gave him for Christmas, and his hair was messy. He looked tired. He works hard, I know. But when he saw my face, he knew something was wrong. "What's going on?" he asked, looking between the two of us. Chloe beat me to it. She went to him with that victim expression I now recognized perfectly. "Your mom is upset about a video I posted." "But, honey, it was just a joke. Everyone on TikTok knows it's just fun content. It's not meant to be taken seriously." Michael looked at me, and in his eyes, I saw something that hurt me more than 1,000 videos. Doubt. He was doubting me. "Mom, what video is she talking about?" I took out my phone. My hands were shaking slightly, but I held it steady. I opened TikTok and searched for Chloe's profile. The video was still there. It now had 92,000 likes. I showed it to him. Michael watched the whole thing. I saw his eyes move, following the images. How he read the comments. How his expression went from curiosity to discomfort. But then he spoke, and his words were worse than any insult. "Mom, I think you're exaggerating." I felt as if a bucket of ice water had been dumped on my back. "Exaggerating?" I repeated, my voice barely a whisper. "It's just..." Michael scratched the back of his neck, uncomfortable. "It's just a video. Chloe has a lot of followers. She makes that kind of content. It's not personal." "Not personal?" My voice rose without me being able to control it. "She filmed me without my permission. She put me on display for thousands of people. She said it's my obligation to serve you. And it's not personal?" Chloe crossed her arms. She was no longer pretending to be sorry. "Eleanor, you yourself told me 2 weeks ago that you loved taking care of the kids, that it was the best part of your life." I just repeated your words. It was true. I had said that, but not the way she presented it. Not with that mocking tone. Not to justify them using me. "Besides," Chloe continued, now more confident because she saw Michael wasn't defending me, "we all live together. It's normal for everyone to contribute. We pay the utilities, the food. You help with the house. We all contribute." Something in my chest tightened so much I thought I was going to faint. "You pay the utilities?" I asked slowly. "The food?" "Well, yeah," Michael said, as if it were obvious. "The electric bill, the gas, the water, the groceries, it all comes from my salary." I sat down in the chair because my legs wouldn't hold me anymore. "Michael," I said, looking him straight in the eye, "do you know whose name is on the deed to this house?" He frowned. "What does that have to do with anything? Answer me." "Well, I don't know. I guess Dad's. Or both of yours?" Chloe was also looking at me with curiosity now. I felt something breaking inside me. Not sadness. Pure indignation. This house is in my name. Only my name. I bought it in 1988 with my money. Every dollar I paid for the down payment, every mortgage payment for 15 years, came from my hands. Your father never saw it finished because he died before I could buy it. The silence was absolute. I built the bathroom with my hands. I laid these tiles. I planted that garden where your children play. And I have never ever charged you a single dollar in rent." Michael opened his mouth, but I continued. "The utilities you pay with such pride are for my house. The food you buy is cooked on my stove. It's stored in my refrigerator. It's served at my table. You sleep in my bedroom. You shower in my bathroom. You breathe in my living room." I saw Chloe clench her jaw. "And never, in the 5 years you've been living here, have I asked for anything but respect." "Mom, calm down," Michael said, and that phrase was the straw that broke the camel's back. "Calm down? After your wife put me on display for thousands of people? After they called me a freeloader, a useless old woman, a burden? After you two laughed at me?" Michael turned pale. "You heard us? I heard you, yesterday afternoon, laughing at the video. You said, 'Oh, Chloe, you're right. Besides, my mom's old. What else is she going to do?'" And what I saw in his eyes chilled my blood. There was no remorse. There was annoyance. "Well, fine, if it bothers you so much," she said, spitting the words out like daggers. "I can delete the video. Happy? It's not about the video, Chloe. It's about respect. It's about the fact that this is my house and I deserve to be treated with dignity in it. Nobody disrespected you." She raised her voice now. "You're the one making a huge drama out of something everyone does on social media. You should be grateful I included you in my content. Other influencers charge for people to appear in their videos." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I looked at my son, waiting for him to say something, to defend me, to put his wife in her place. But Michael just said, in a tired voice, "Mom, I think you're both exaggerating. Chloe, delete the video. Mom, forgive her, okay? I don't want fighting in this house." And right there, I understood everything. My son was not going to defend me. He had chosen a false peace over justice. He had chosen not to inconvenience his wife over protecting his mother. I got up from the table. The biscuits and gravy had gone cold. No one had touched them. "You're right," I said with a calm I didn't feel. "I don't want fighting. Have a good day." I went up to my room. I locked the door. And for the first time in a long time, I cried. But not from sadness, from rage. Because I had just discovered that in my own house, the one I built with my hands, the one I paid for with my blood and sweat, I was worth less than the comfort of a manipulative daughter-in-law and the cowardice of a blind son. But if I've learned anything in this life, it's that tears dry. And rage transforms into action. I dried my face. I opened the drawer of my nightstand. I took out an old notebook where I kept important numbers. And I started making calls. Because Chloe and Michael had just made a terrible mistake. They thought that because I was older, I was weak. They were about to learn that women of my generation didn't survive by being weak. We survived by being smarter than our enemies. Who will Eleanor call? What will she discover that will change everything? The truth is about to explode. 3 days passed. 3 days in which I acted as if nothing had happened. I made breakfast. I picked up toys. I smiled when the children hugged me. I said hello politely when Chloe walked past me as if I were part of the furniture. But inside, everything had changed. Now I watched, I listened, I made mental notes of every detail I used to let slide. On Monday night, Chloe went out with her friends. She came back at 11 o'clock smelling of cigarettes and expensive perfume I didn't recognize. Michael was asleep. He didn't ask her anything when she got in. On Tuesday, while I was cleaning their room, because yes, I was still doing it, even though every fiber of my being screamed at me to stop, I found a receipt from an Italian restaurant. A $75 charge for a meal for 2. The date? Last Wednesday. The day Chloe told me she was going to run errands at the bank. I didn't say anything. I just folded the receipt and put it in my apron pocket. Wednesday was when everything changed. It was almost midnight. I couldn't sleep. Lately, I'd been sleeping worse than ever, tossing and turning, thinking about everything that had happened. I went down to the kitchen for a glass of water with lemon. That remedy that always calms my nerves. The house was dark and quiet. The only sounds were the hum of the refrigerator and the distant bark of a dog down the street. I poured my water. I squeezed half a lemon into it. I was about to go upstairs when I heard Chloe's voice. It was coming from the backyard. She was on the phone. I froze by the kitchen door, in the shadows, with the glass in my hand. "No, Mom, not yet," Chloe was saying in a low but clear voice. "I'm telling you, this takes time." Silence. I heard someone on the other end. I know, but I can't just pressure her. The old woman is more stubborn than we thought." My heart started to beat faster. "Look, I'll explain it again," Chloe continued, her tone impatient. "As soon as she dies, this house automatically goes to Michael. He's her only son. And what's Michael's is mine. That's how inheritance works." I felt the floor move beneath my feet. The lawyer told me that since we've been living here for 5 years, we have possession rights. We can claim we've contributed to the property's upkeep. Besides, she's old already. How long does she have? 10 years? 5? She was talking about my death like someone discussing the weather. "No, Michael doesn't know anything," Chloe said, letting out a dry laugh. "And he can't know. You know how he is. All sentimental about his mommy. If I tell him the house is going to be ours, he'll start crying and saying his mom deserves respect and I don't know what other crap." I had to cover my mouth to stop the scream that wanted to escape my throat. Of course I respect her, Mom, but we have to be practical. This house is easily worth $500,000. Do you know how much we could do with that money? Sell it, buy something bigger in a better area, invest the rest. $500,000. My house, my life, my sacrifice, reduced to a number in this woman's head. Look, I already talked to the lawyer last week. He explained everything. Since the house is only in her name and there's no registered will, it passes directly to the legal heir, which is Michael. Period. He doesn't even have to do anything. It's automatic. I heard the click of a lighter. Chloe was smoking, something she always denied when Michael asked if she was still hooked on that habit. The only problem would be if she makes a will and leaves the house to someone else. But who? She doesn't have anyone else. And I doubt at her age she's thinking about those things. Old women from her generation don't go to notaries and file paperwork. They live in the past. I felt the rage rise in my chest like hot lava. Besides, even if she made a will, I already checked. Legal heirs can claim their share. Michael will always have a right to something. So, either way, we win. Another silence. I heard her take a long drag from the cigarette. The video? Oh, Mom, that was something else. That was for my audience, for the engagement. You know how this works. The more controversy, the more views. And yeah, the old woman got mad, but she'll get over it. What's she going to do? Kick us out? She doesn't have the guts. You saw how she got all dramatic, but at the end of the day, she kept cooking and cleaning just like always. That's when something inside me stopped hurting and started to burn. "Don't worry," Chloe said with a confidence that made me sick to my stomach. "Everything is under control. I'll take care of keeping her happy and useful. As long as she keeps believing we're a happy family, she won't make any weird moves. And when the time comes, well, that's it. The house is ours." She hung up. I heard her footsteps approaching the house. I moved fast. I went up the stairs as quietly as I could, my heart pounding against my ribs so hard I thought it would burst from my chest. I got into my room. I closed the door. I leaned against it, my legs trembling. The glass of water was still in my hand. I set it on the nightstand so carefully it didn't make a sound. And then I realized something. My phone. I had left it in the pocket of my robe. And without thinking, out of pure instinct, or maybe because God was guiding me, I had pressed record when I heard Chloe's first sentence. With shaky hands, I took out the phone. The audio had recorded everything, every word, every plan, every lie. 8 minutes and 43 seconds of pure evidence. I sat on the bed. I listened to the whole audio file to make sure it had recorded clearly. Chloe's voice was sharp. Her words were unmistakable. When it finished, I stared at the phone screen, and for the first time in days, I smiled. Not a bitter smile. Not a sad smile. A smile of a woman who has just found the winning cards in a game she thought she had lost. Because Chloe was right about one thing. Women from my generation don't go to lawyers. Except when we do. I looked at the clock. It was 1 a.m. Too late to call, but not too late to plan. I opened the notebook where I keep important numbers. I flipped through the pages until I found what I was looking for. Susan Ramirez. My best friend for 30 years. A former notary. Retired for 5 years, but with more legal knowledge in her little finger than any young lawyer. And below that, another number. Julian Estrada. My nephew. My brother's son, who died 10 years ago. A lawyer specializing in family law and estates. A good man who visited me every month and always told me, "Auntie, anything you need, just call me." I had never needed anything. Until now. I put the phone under my pillow as if it were a treasure, because it was. It was my ammunition. I lay down but didn't sleep. I couldn't. My mind was working at full speed, putting together plans, calculating moves, thinking 3 steps ahead. Chloe thought she was smart. Chloe thought I was a naive old woman who was going to let herself be used until the day I died. Chloe didn't know who she had messed with. Because I had survived the death of my husband, I had raised a son alone. I had built a house with my own hands. I had worked 20 hours a day for years. And she thought she was going to beat me with cheap lies and mediocre plans. Poor girl. She had no idea the storm she had just unleashed. The next morning, I went down to breakfast as usual. I made eggs and beans. I poured coffee. I said good morning with a smile. Chloe looked at me with that expression of superiority I now recognized perfectly. "Good morning, Eleanor," she said with false sweetness. "Good morning, dear," I replied. And as I served her plate, as I watched Michael read the newspaper without paying attention to me, as I listened to my grandchildren fight over the television remote, I thought of only one thing. Enjoy these days, because your world is about to fall apart, and this time there won't be a TikTok video to save it. What will Eleanor do with that recording? Can she trust her nephew? The counterattack is about to begin. Don't underestimate me because of my gray hair. On Thursday at 10 in the morning, while Chloe was at the gym and Michael was at work, I left the house with my most discreet purse and my phone tucked safely in my pocket. I told the kids I was going to the market. Olivia barely looked up from her tablet. Noah was watching cartoons. I took a taxi, an expense I normally avoid, but this was urgent, and gave the address of the law office where Susan used to work before she retired. She now lived in a small apartment near downtown, in a building from the 70s with mustard yellow walls and plants on every balcony. I rang the bell. I heard hurried footsteps. "Who is it?" Susan's voice asked through the intercom. "It's me, my friend. Eleanor." A brief silence, then the buzz of the door unlocking. I walked up to the 3rd floor because the elevator never works. Susan was waiting for me at her apartment door, her white hair in a bun and her glasses hanging from a chain over her wine-colored knitted sweater. "Eleanor," she said, looking at me with those sharp eyes that miss nothing. "From the look on your face, I know this isn't a social visit." I went in. The apartment smelled like fresh coffee and the cinnamon candles Susan has always loved. We sat in her small but cozy living room filled with books and family photos. "Tell me," she said without beating around the bush, pouring me a cup of coffee in a delicate porcelain cup. And I told her everything. The video, the humiliation, the conversation I overheard, Chloe's plan to take my house. When I finished, I took out my phone and played the audio for her. Susan listened without interrupting. Her expression went from neutral to annoyed, then to downright furious. When the audio ended, she took off her glasses and rubbed the bridge of her nose. "That despicable woman," she said in a flat voice. Susan never curses. The fact that she did now told me how serious the situation was. Does Michael know any of this? Nothing. According to Chloe, he's completely in the dark. Typical. Susan took a long sip of her coffee. The sons are always the last to see what their wives really are. And what do you want to do, my friend? I want to protect my house. I want them to learn a lesson. And I want Michael to open his eyes. Susan nodded slowly, thinking. First things first. Your house is in your name, correct? Yes. Only my name. I never put it in Michael's name because, I don't know. Something always stopped me. That something is called instinct. And it saved you. Susan put her glasses back on. Second, do you have a will? I shook my head. Then Chloe is right about one thing. If you die without a will, the house automatically passes to Michael as the legal heir. But that has a solution. You need to make a will. Now. And you need to talk to my nephew, Julian. I thought the same. I have his number. Call him right now. I'm going to text him too. That boy is good, and he's discreet. I dialed the number while Susan sent a text. Julian answered on the third ring. Aunt Eleanor? Is everything okay? His voice was warm, concerned. Julian was 38 years old. He was an only child, and after his father, my brother German, died of a heart attack, I helped him with his college expenses. He'd never repaid me, but he always told me he owed me everything. Julian, I need to see you. It's urgent. And it's legal. There was a pause. Where are you? With your Aunt Susan. I'm leaving a hearing in 20 minutes. I'll be there in 40. Don't move. He hung up. Susan smiled. That boy is one of the good ones, just like his father. We spent the next 30 minutes drinking coffee and planning. Susan, with her sharp legal mind, even in retirement, explained my options. You can make a will leaving the house to whomever you want. To Michael, to a foundation, to a church, to me if you want. It's your property. I don't want to disinherit my son. He's a victim of her too. I know. But you can set conditions. You can create a trust. You can divide the property. There are many legal options that protect your interests and teach that viper a lesson without leaving your son on the street. And the video? Can I do anything about that? Susan pursed her lips. Legally, it's complicated. You didn't sign any consent to appear in the video. But since it was filmed in your own home and she lives there, it's a gray area. You could demand they take it down for unauthorized use of your image, but it would be a long process. I don't want long processes. I want swift justice. Then let's go for what really hurts. The assets. You take away what she really wants, and you destroy her without ever setting foot in court. I smiled. That's why Susan had been the best notary in the area. There was a knock on the door. Julian had arrived. I saw him through the peephole. Tall, well-built, with a trimmed beard and a dark gray suit. He was carrying a leather briefcase. Susan opened the door. Auntie, Julian said, kissing her cheek. Then he turned to me. Aunt Eleanor. He hugged me. A real hug, the kind that reminds you you're not alone in the world. The three of us sat around the small coffee table. Julian took out a notepad and a pen. Tell me everything. And I did. For the second time that morning, I told the whole story. I played him the audio. Julian listened with an increasingly serious expression. When the audio finished, he closed his notepad and leaned back against the sofa. Auntie, that woman isn't just manipulative. She's dangerous. And what she's saying is technically correct from a legal standpoint, but ethically, it's garbage. Can I do anything? You can do a lot, and we're going to. Julian opened his briefcase and took out several documents. First option, a formal will. You establish who inherits what, under what conditions. It's unassailable if it's done right. Can I set conditions? Of course. You can say, Michael inherits the house only if he gets divorced. You can say, the house is to be sold and the money divided between your grandchildren. You can create a trust where you still have control until your death, and then it passes to whomever you designate. The options are many. I don't want to punish Michael. I want to protect myself from her. Julian nodded. Then I suggest this. We create a trust. You are the grantor and the lifetime beneficiary. That means the house remains yours and only yours as long as you live. No one can claim it, sell it, or do anything with it. When you pass, you designate heirs with the conditions you want. And Chloe couldn't touch it? Not with a 10-foot pole. A trust is ironclad. Even if Michael inherited it later, it would be his separate property, not marital property. She would have no right to it. I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. How long does that take? If we start today, it'll be ready in a week. I need you to bring me the deed to the house, your ID, and come with me to the notary next Tuesday. I'll prepare everything. There's something else, I said, taking a deep breath. I want them out of my house. Julian and Susan exchanged glances. Evict them? Julian asked. I don't know if that's the right word, but I don't want to keep living with someone who is waiting for me to die to take what's mine. Legally, you can. It's your house. They don't have a lease agreement. They live there by your goodwill, and you can withdraw that goodwill whenever you want. It's that simple? It's that simple. But Auntie, Julian looked at me with concern. Michael is your son. This is going to break the family. Are you sure? I was silent for a long moment. I thought about the cold biscuits and gravy, the mocking laughter, the viral video, the plan to steal my house, my son's blindness. The family is already broken, Julian. I'm just going to make visible what they destroyed in secret. Susan squeezed my hand. Then let's do it right, Julian said, and let's do it legally. I'll help you every step of the way. We left there 2 hours later with a clear plan. On Tuesday, we would go to the notary to create the trust. On Wednesday, Julian would help me make a legal inventory of everything that was mine in the house. And on Thursday, we would execute the masterstroke. I went home in a taxi. It was 3 p.m. Chloe was in the living room painting her nails while watching a series on TV. She didn't even look up when I came in. "Did you buy vegetables?" she asked, without taking her eyes off the screen. "I forgot," I lied. "I'll go tomorrow." "Oh, Eleanor, how forgetful. Well, I guess we'll have to order pizza then." I looked at her there, so comfortable on my couch, using my electricity, breathing my air, planning to steal my life. And I smiled. "Yes, dear. Order pizza." I went up to my room. I locked away the documents Julian had given me, and I dialed one more number on my phone. "Hello? Cousin Megan, it's Eleanor. I need a favor, and it has to do with social media." Megan, my second cousin, was 50 years old and had over 200,000 followers on TikTok. She was famous for her traditional cooking videos, but she also knew how the algorithm worked, how to make something go viral, how to tell a story that hit straight to the heart. "Tell me everything," she said with that energy that always characterized her. And I told her. When I finished, Megan let out a long whistle. "Cousin, that girl picked the wrong person to mess with. When you're ready for your revenge, you let me know. I'll make sure half the country hears about it." I hung up. Everything was in place. The chess pieces were set. The plan was drawn. Now, all that was left was to wait for the exact moment to move the queen and destroy the enemy. What surprise awaits Chloe? How will she react when she discovers the old woman isn't so defenseless? The blow is about to fall. The weekend arrived with unexpected news. Chloe came into the kitchen on Friday night, phone in hand, with that spoiled child smile she put on when she wanted something. "Eleanor," she said in a syrupy voice, "guess what? We won a weekend getaway at the Lakeview Lodge, a raffle at my job, all-inclusive, hotel, meals, spa. We leave tomorrow morning and come back Monday night." My heart leaped, but I kept my face neutral. "How wonderful, dear. You two deserve it. You've been working hard." Michael appeared behind her, carrying a suitcase. "Mom, are you sure you'll be okay? It's 3 days. Son, I'm 68, not 88. I know how to take care of myself. It's just the kids," he started to say. "The kids are staying with me, or were you planning to take them to the spa?" I said, raising an eyebrow. Chloe and Michael exchanged uncomfortable glances. Well, we thought. Chloe bit her lip that they could come with us. "There's a kids' pool, or they can stay with their grandmother and have fun here. We'll make cookies, watch movies, go to the park." I looked at Olivia and Noah, who had just run in. "What do you prefer, kids? A boring spa with your parents or a fun weekend with Grandma?" "With Grandma!" they both shouted at the same time. "Settled." I saw the annoyance in Chloe's eyes, but she said nothing. Michael seemed relieved not to have to deal with the kids on their romantic getaway. They left on Saturday at 7 a.m. I saw them off at the door with kisses and hugs. Chloe gave me a loose hug, one of those that means nothing. "Take care, Eleanor, and take good care of the kids." As always, I replied with my best obedient grandmother smile. Michael kissed my forehead. "Thanks, Mom. You're the best." I watched them get in the car. I watched them drive down the street. I watched them turn the corner and disappear. I closed the door. I took a deep breath and pulled out my phone. "Julian. They're gone. Perfect. I'll be there in 30 minutes with the truck." I went upstairs to wake the kids. I gave them a quick breakfast of cereal with milk and a banana. "Grandma, are we going to the park?" Noah asked with his mouth full. Later, sweetie. First, Grandma has to do a few things. In the meantime, do you want to watch movies on my tablet? Their eyes lit up. I don't normally let them watch television in the morning, so this was a treat. I set them up in the living room with blankets and my tablet loaded with their favorite cartoons. I gave them cookies and juice. They would be entertained for at least 2 hours. At 8:30, Julian arrived. He wasn't alone. He had a small moving truck and 2 strong men in blue overalls. Auntie, Julian greeted me, getting out of his car. This is Roberto and Chewy. They're trustworthy. They work with a friend of mine, discreet and fast. The men greeted me respectfully, taking off their caps. Good morning, ma'am. Where do we start? I opened the front door. The master bedroom, upstairs. Everything in there is theirs. Clothes, furniture they brought, their personal things. It all goes. Julian took out a notepad. Let's do this right. I'm going to note every single thing we take out. Photos, too. Just in case they accuse us of theft, we have proof we only took what was theirs. For the next 3 hours, those 2 men worked like organized ants. They took out the modern wardrobe Chloe had bought 2 years ago. The king-size bed they brought when they got married because the one in the house was too old. The vanity with the LED mirror. The floating shelves. The 50-inch television Michael had mounted on the wall. Every shoebox of Chloe's. Every suit of Michael's. Every dress. Every tie. Every bottle of perfume. Every face cream. Every beauty product. Everything. Julian took photos of each item before it went down. I checked things off a list. The bookshelf, I said, pointing to the dark wood furniture by the window. Are you sure? It's nice, Julian said. They bought it last year. I had an old pine one that's in the shed out back from when they put this one in. It goes. The men disassembled it and carried it down, piece by piece. When they finished with the master bedroom, it looked like an empty hotel room. All that was left were the light blue painted walls, the color I'd chosen 15 years ago, and the hardwood floor I had paid for myself. Now the bathroom, I said. We took everything out. Chloe's expensive products that cost over $50 each. Michael's electric toothbrush. The new towels they bought last year. The laundry hamper they brought. Even the bath mat. I left only the old towels that were mine and a basic bar of soap. The living room? Roberto asked, wiping the sweat from his forehead. I looked around. The gray sectional sofa that took up half the space. They bought it 2 years ago when my blue one didn't match their style. Out. The television? That's theirs too. The one I had was smaller, and they put it in their room. They took out the sofa. The glass coffee table. The 60-inch television. The sound system. Even the decorative plants in modern pots that Chloe had put out to liven up the place. I brought my old navy blue armchair out of the shed. It was a little worn but clean and comfortable. We put it back in its old spot. My 32-inch television went back in the living room. My carved wooden coffee table, which had been my mother's, reclaimed its place. The house was starting to look like my house again. The kitchen? Chewy asked. Take out the Italian coffee maker Chloe brought. The set of nonstick pans they bought. The new blender. The microwave they installed. Everything that wasn't here before they arrived. We even opened the pantry. This set of minimalist white dishes is theirs, I said, pointing to the square plates I hated. Take the whole set. I have my floral plates stored away. Julian looked at me with something resembling admiration. Auntie, you are ruthless. I'm fair. I keep what's mine. They take what's theirs. What's the problem? He smiled. At 12 o'clock noon, the truck was full. Where do we take it? Roberto asked. To the storage unit on Main Street, Julian said, handing him a paper with the address. It's already rented and paid for 1 month. Here's the key. I gave him the key I had gotten on Thursday. A 10 by 10 storage unit. Enough for all their things. The men left with the truck. Julian stayed with me. Now for the interesting part, he said, taking a small toolbox from his car. He changed the lock on the front door. The old silver lock, which had been there for 15 years, was replaced with a new, brass-colored steel one. Here. He handed me 3 new keys, 1 for you, 1 spare, and 1 just in case. Is this legal? I asked, though I already knew the answer. Completely. It's your house. You can change the locks whenever you want. They don't have tenant rights because they don't pay rent. Legally, they are guests living here on your goodwill. I put the keys in my pocket. The house looked different. Emptier, but more mine. Like it had gotten its soul back. I cleaned everything. I swept, mopped, dusted. I arranged my old furniture in its original places. I took out the photographs I had stored away. Of Robert, of Michael as a child, of my parents, and I put them back on the walls. I put tablecloths on the dining room table, the hand-embroidered ones my mother gave me when I got married. I watered the plants in the garden. And when I finished, I sat in my blue armchair, in my living room, in my house, and drank a cup of coffee from my favorite mug, the one with the little flowers that Chloe had banished to the back of the pantry for being outdated. The kids were still watching cartoons, oblivious to everything. Julian sat down next to me. Do you feel okay about this? I thought about the question. I searched for guilt, remorse, doubt. I found nothing. Only peace. I feel free, I said finally. He nodded. They're coming back on Monday. Are you ready for that? More than ready. It's going to be ugly, Auntie. I know, but the ugly part already happened. When they turned me into a meme, when they planned to steal from me, when my son laughed at me. That was ugly. This is justice. Julian got up. I'll be here on Monday, whatever time you tell me. You won't be alone. Thank you, nephew. After he left, I made my grandchildren's favorite lunch. Homemade chicken nuggets, French fries, and colorful Jell-O. We ate in the yard, sitting on the concrete bench under the lemon tree. Grandma, why did they take so much stuff out of the house? Olivia asked suddenly, my 9-year-old granddaughter, more observant than anyone realized. I was rearranging, honey. Sometimes you have to take out what doesn't work anymore to make space for better things. Are Mommy and Daddy going to be mad? I looked her in the eyes. Those light brown eyes she had inherited from Michael. Maybe. But sometimes, grown-ups have to do difficult things so everyone can learn. Do you understand? She nodded, though she probably didn't fully understand. The rest of the weekend was strangely peaceful. We played, watched movies, made chocolate chip cookies. I read them stories before bed in my bed. The three of us squeezed together but happy. On Sunday night, after putting the kids to bed, I sat in the dark living room. Tomorrow, they would return. Tomorrow, they would see what I had done. Tomorrow, everything would change. I took out my phone and texted Julian. Be here at 5 in the evening. They should have arrived by then. His response was immediate. I'll be there, Auntie, with all the legal backup you need. I put the phone away. I looked around my house, my real house, the one I built, the one I defended, the one no one was going to take from me. And I waited, because the storm was about to break, and this time I was the lightning. How will Chloe and Michael react when they see the empty house? What will happen when their keys don't work? The moment of truth has arrived. On Monday at 4:30 in the afternoon, I heard the car park in front of the house. I was sitting in my blue armchair with my hands crossed in my lap, my back straight. I had made coffee, a full pot. Because this was going to be long. The children were in the backyard playing with their toy cars. I had told them not to come out of there until I called them. I heard the car doors shut. Voices. Laughter. They were happy from their weekend. Footsteps approaching the door. The sound of a key entering the lock. Turning. Not opening. Silence. Again. The key. The attempt. The resistance. What's wrong? It's not opening, Michael's voice, confused. Try again, Chloe said, her tone impatient. More attempts. More metallic sounds of frustration. Is it jammed? Michael sounded worried now. I got up from the armchair, smoothed my dress. I had put on my favorite one, the beige one with embroidered flowers, the one I wear for important occasions. I walked to the door. From inside, I could hear them struggling with the lock. I opened it. Michael was standing there with the key in his hand, sweating. Chloe was behind him with an annoyed look, carrying her expensive beach bag. Mom, thank goodness you're here. The lock is jammed. We can't, Michael started to say. It's not jammed, I interrupted him, my voice calm. I changed it. Absolute silence. They both looked at me as if I had spoken in another language. What do you mean? You changed it? Chloe asked with a nervous laugh. Why would you do that? Because it's my house, and I decided to change the locks. Mom, what's going on? Michael dropped his suitcase. His face showed genuine confusion. Come in, I said, stepping aside, but leave your bags outside, please. What? No, it's hot, Chloe tried to enter with her luggage. I said leave them outside, I repeated more firmly. Something in my tone stopped them. They left the suitcases on the porch and entered. And then they saw it. Chloe was the first to realize. Her eyes scanned the living room as if it were a place she had never seen. Where is my living room? She asked, her voice high-pitched. Where is the sofa? The television? What did you do? Michael was looking around with his mouth open. Mom? Where is everything? In a storage unit, I replied calmly, sitting back down in my armchair. On Main Street. Your things are there, waiting for you. Our things. Chloe's voice went up 3 octaves. What did you do with our things? I moved them to a safe place. Everything you two brought into this house is packed and stored. Nothing was lost. It's all inventoried. Chloe ran towards the stairs. I heard her go up the steps, 2 at a time. I heard her scream from upstairs. Michael, get up here. My son looked at me with a mixture of shock and betrayal. Then he ran up after her. I stayed downstairs. I drank my coffee. I waited. The yelling didn't take long to start. Everything. She took everything. Chloe's voice was pure hysteria. My clothes, my shoes, my vanity, the bed. Running footsteps. Doors opening and closing. The bathroom, too. My creams. Everything. More footsteps. Coming down now. Chloe first, her face red with rage. Michael behind her, pale as a sheet. Are you insane? Chloe yelled, stopping in front of me. This is theft. I'm calling the police. You're going to jail. Call them, I said, unbothered. I have the deed to the house. I have a complete inventory of what I took out. I have photos of everything, and I have witnesses. I didn't touch anything that wasn't yours. We live here. You can't just kick us out like this. I'm not kicking you out. Your things are in a safe place. You are welcome to stay, but you will sleep in the rooms I decide, with the furniture I provide, under the rules I establish. Mom, I don't understand. Michael finally spoke. His voice was trembling. What is all this? Why? What did we do? I looked at him. My son. My only son. And I felt a pang in my chest. But I didn't back down. Michael, sit down. You too, Chloe. It's time we spoke the truth. I'm not sitting down. I want my things back now, Chloe screamed. I took my phone out of my dress pocket. Before you keep yelling, there's something you need to hear. I'm not interested, Chloe began. I pressed play. Chloe's voice filled the living room. No, Mom, not yet. I'm telling you, this takes time. I know, but I can't just pressure her. The old woman is more stubborn than we thought. I watched the color drain from Chloe's face. I let it keep playing. Every word, every plan, every lie. As soon as she dies, this house automatically goes to Michael. The lawyer told me that since we've been living here for 5 years, we have possession rights. This house is easily worth $500,000. Michael collapsed onto the couch. His face went from confusion to horror. No, Michael doesn't even know anything. You know how he is, all sentimental about his mommy. My son looked at me. There were tears in his eyes. The audio continued, to the very last poisoned word. When it finished, the silence was so thick you could cut it with a knife. That was. Chloe tried to speak, but her voice broke, taken out of context. A joke? A lie? I finished for her. No, Chloe. That was last Wednesday, at 11:30 at night, in my yard, talking to your mother, planning how to take my house. I didn't. She fumbled for words, excuses, anything. You lied. You manipulated. And worst of all, you lied to my son. You used him as a ladder to get to something that never belonged to you. Michael had his head in his hands. His shoulders were shaking. Michael, I can explain. Chloe moved toward him. Don't touch me, he yelled, pushing her away. It was the first time in 5 years I had ever seen him yell at her. Is it true? Is everything she said in there true? Honey, you have to understand. I just wanted to secure our future, the kids' future. Answer me. Is it true or not? Chloe opened her mouth. She closed it. And in that silence, Michael found his answer. He got up from the couch. He staggered a bit. He looked at me, his eyes full of tears. Mom, I didn't know. I swear to God, I didn't know any of this. I know, I said softly. That's why I didn't take your things, too. He let out a sob, a sound that broke my heart but didn't change my mind. What do you want us to do? He asked, in a broken voice. At that moment, someone knocked on the door. That must be my lawyer, I said, getting up. He's right on time. I opened the door. Julian walked in with his briefcase, impeccably dressed in a dark suit. Good afternoon. I am Julian Estrada, attorney for Mrs. Eleanor Vance. Are you Michael Vance and Chloe Gutierrez? They both nodded, still in shock. Perfect. I'm here to deliver some documents and explain the legal situation. Julian opened his briefcase and took out several papers. First, this is a copy of the trust that Mrs. Vance established last week. The house is now under an irrevocable trust, with her as the grantor and lifetime beneficiary. That means no one, absolutely no one, can claim any rights to this property as long as she is alive. He handed a copy to each of them. Second, here is the complete inventory of the assets that were removed from the house. As you can see, only belongings that you brought in after moving here were removed. Nothing belonging to Mrs. Vance was touched. Third, Julian continued, his voice professional but firm. Here is the address and key to the storage unit where your belongings are. You have 30 days to retrieve them. After that time, Mrs. Vance is not responsible for what happens to them. Chloe stared at the papers as if they were written in hieroglyphics. And fourth, Julian looked at me before continuing, Mrs. Vance is within her rights to ask you to vacate the property at any time, as there is no lease agreement and your stay here has been at the owner's goodwill. However, they all looked at me. I'm not going to kick you out, I said. My voice came out stronger than I expected. Michael, you are my son. You will always be my son. But things are going to change. If you want to stay, there will be rules. Chloe, I looked her straight in the eye. You can stay too, but with conditions. Or, you can both leave. The choice is yours. What conditions? Michael asked, wiping his tears. First, you will pay rent, $500 a month to stay in my house. But Mom. Second, you will help with the household chores. All of you, not just me. There will be a schedule that we will make together. Third, respect. Absolute. Towards me, towards this house, towards what I have built. No videos, no mockery, no secret plans. Or you leave. Chloe opened her mouth to protest. And fourth, I continued, not letting her speak. Chloe, you are going to delete that video, now, in front of me. And you are going to post an apology, a real one. Or there is no deal. And if I don't accept, Chloe said, with the last shred of pride she had left, then your husband and your children stay, and you leave. The decision is yours. The silence that followed was eternal. Michael looked at Chloe. Chloe looked at Michael. They both looked at the legal papers in their hands. And Chloe, for the first time since I'd met her, crumbled. I'm sorry, she whispered, barely audible. I'm sorry. I don't know if she meant it, or if it was just because she had no other options. But honestly, at that moment, I no longer cared. I had gotten my house back. I had gotten my dignity back. And I had gotten my son back from the clutches of a lie. The rest would come with time. Will they accept the conditions? What will happen to Michael's marriage? Will Chloe manage to change, or will she continue to seek revenge? The battle has only just begun. No one moved for what felt like hours, but it was only minutes. Chloe remained standing in the middle of the living room, the legal papers trembling in her hands. Michael was sitting on the couch, head bowed, breathing like he'd just run a marathon. Julian broke the silence. I'll give you a moment to process. I'll be outside if you need me, Auntie. He squeezed my shoulder before leaving, closing the door softly behind him. Chloe was the first to speak. "You can't do this," she said, but her voice no longer had its former strength. It sounded hollow, defeated. "We're your family. Family doesn't plan to rob you. Family doesn't humiliate you on the internet. Family doesn't wait for you to die to take what's yours," I replied, without raising my voice. "I never said I wanted you to die," she tried to defend herself. "How long does she have? 10 years? 5? I quoted her own words from the audio. "Need me to refresh your memory?" Chloe closed her eyes. A tear rolled down her cheek, but I couldn't tell if it was genuine or calculated. Michael stood up abruptly. "I need some air," he said, and walked out to the backyard without looking at either of us. I watched him through the window. He sat on the concrete bench, the same one where I had cried and planned all of this. He buried his face in his hands. Chloe took a step toward the door. "Leave him," I told her. "For once in your life, let him process without you controlling the narrative." She stopped. She looked at me with something that could have been hatred or could have been fear. Probably both. "What do you want from me?" she finally asked. "To humiliate me? To destroy me? You've already won. Isn't that enough?" "I don't want to humiliate you, Chloe. I want you to understand what you did. I want you to look into the eyes of those children playing in the yard and ask yourself what kind of example you're setting for them. I did everything for them, for their future, to give them a good life. By teaching them it's okay to steal, to lie, to use people. It's not stealing if it's an inheritance. It's stealing when you plan to take something based on the desire for the owner to die soon." Chloe opened her mouth to respond, but nothing came out, because there was no possible defense for that. She sank to the floor, leaning against the wall. Her hands still clutched the papers. "I don't know what to do," she said in a broken voice. "I don't know how to fix this." I sat in my armchair, facing her. I let the silence stretch. "Do you know what the saddest part of all this is?" I said finally. "I cared about you, Chloe. I really did. When Michael first brought you home, I saw the way you looked at him. I thought it was real love. I opened the doors of my home, of my life, to you. I treated you like a daughter. And she whispered, "I cared about you too." "No, you cared about what I had. You wanted security. You wanted a free house. You wanted someone to take care of your kids while you lived your life. But you never cared about me." She shook her head, but without conviction. "When you made that video," I continued, "you didn't just humiliate me. You made me invisible. You reduced me to a function, to an unpaid employee. And people laughed. Thousands of people who don't know me believed I was a burden, a freeloader, a useless old woman. It was just a video," she started to say. "It was my dignity." My voice rose for the first time. "Do you know how many years I worked to build this house? How many sleepless nights? How many times I ate beans and tortillas just to save money? How many times my hands literally and metaphorically bled?" I stood up. I walked toward her. "I built this with blood, Chloe, and you were going to take it as if it were nothing, as if I were worth nothing, as if my life didn't matter." She was sobbing now. Her makeup was streaked. Her hair was a mess. So different from the confident influencer who posted videos. The patio door opened. Michael came in. His eyes were red, but his expression was different. Harder, more resolute. "Chloe, get up," he said in a firm voice. She looked up at him from the floor. "Honey." "No, get up. We need to talk." "Outside." Chloe got up with difficulty. Michael took her by the arm, not violently, but firmly, and led her to the yard, closing the door behind them. I stayed in the living room. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but I could see their gestures through the window. Michael was talking. Chloe tried to interrupt. He held up a hand, asking her to let him finish. She was crying. He remained firm. 20 minutes passed. When they came back, something had changed between them. You could see it in the space they left between their bodies, in how they avoided looking at each other. Michael spoke first. "Mom, we accept your conditions. All 5. No negotiation." Chloe nodded silently, staring at the floor. "But there's something else you need to know," Michael continued. His voice trembled slightly. "Chloe and I are separating." I felt as if I'd been punched in the stomach. "Michael." "No," I began. "It's not because of you, Mom. It's because of us. Because of what this day just revealed. He looked me straight in the eye. I thought I knew the woman I married. I thought we shared values. I thought we were a team. But today I found out she was keeping secrets, plans, that she saw me as a means to an end. Michael, please, we can work on this, Chloe pleaded, grabbing his arm. I'll go to therapy. I'll change, whatever it takes. He gently, but decisively, removed her hand. I need time. I need to think. I need to understand who you really are. Because the woman in that audio, that's not the woman I thought I knew. And the kids? Chloe asked, her voice desperate. The kids stay with me. Here, with my mom. Michael turned to me. If she agrees. If not, we'll find another place, but they won't be in an environment where these kinds of things are planned ever again. Son, I didn't know what to say. Mom, forgive me. Michael knelt in front of me. My adult son, 33 years old, on his knees. Forgive me for being so blind, for not defending you, for letting them treat you like this in your own house, for laughing at that video, for doubting you when you showed me the truth. The tears I had been holding back finally came. I just wanted to give you a happy home, I said, touching his head. A family. I thought I was doing the right thing by giving you space, by helping, by making myself small so you could grow. You made yourself too small, Mom. So small you almost disappeared. And I didn't see it. I didn't want to see it because it was more comfortable to have you do everything, to have you sacrifice, to have you give up your bedroom, your privacy, your life. Michael, get up. That's enough. No, I need to say this. He looked up, his eyes full of tears. Dad died when I was 3 years old. I barely remember him. But you have always been there. You worked yourself to exhaustion to give me a decent life. You paid for my school. You supported me in everything. And I repaid you with indifference, by minimizing your pain, by choosing the comfort of my marriage over your dignity. It's not like that, I tried to console him. It is, and it ends today. He stood up. Chloe will go to the storage unit to organize her things. She'll find an apartment. The kids and I are staying here. I will pay the rent you asked for, even though I know it's ridiculously low. I will help with the house, and I will learn to be the son you deserved from the beginning. I looked at Chloe. I expected to see rage or resentment. I only saw defeat. When do you want me to leave? She asked in a monotone voice. You can stay in the guest room tonight, I said. Tomorrow, you can start looking for your own place. You have 1 month to get your things from the storage unit and sort out your situation. The kids can visit you whenever you want, but here, you don't live here anymore. She nodded, without a fight, without manipulation, maybe because she finally understood she had lost, or maybe because she never cared enough to fight for it in the first place. There's one more thing, Michael said. The video. Delete it. Now. Chloe took out her phone with trembling hands. She went to her TikTok. She found the video, now with over 200,000 likes, and she deleted it. Now the apology, I said. Public. Sincere. Or there's no deal. Chloe looked at me. There was something in her eyes I couldn't identify. Real remorse? Calculation? Resignation? I'll do it, she said finally. But not today. I need to process all of this first. You have until tomorrow at noon, I said, not budging, or the deal is off. She nodded. Michael went to the yard to get the kids. He brought them inside. Olivia and Noah looked at us, confused, feeling the tension in the air even if they didn't understand exactly what was wrong. Kids, Michael said, crouching to their level. Mommy is going to stay in another place for a little while, but she's going to see you a lot. You're going to stay here with Dad and Grandma. Is that okay? Why? Olivia asked. With that intuition, children have that always knows when something is wrong. Because sometimes grown-ups need time to fix things, Michael answered. But we love you very much, both of us. That will never change. Noah hugged my leg. Is Grandma going to stay with us? Yes, sweetie. Grandma is staying. Good, he said with the simplicity of a 6-year-old. I like being with Grandma. Those simple words broke me and healed me at the same time. Chloe said goodbye to her children with long kisses and tight hugs. She cried. They hugged her back, not fully understanding but feeling her sadness. Then she went up to the guest room without another word. Michael made dinner. Something simple. Quesadillas and beans. We ate in silence, the four of us, sitting at my table with my tablecloths. After putting the kids to bed, Michael and I sat in the living room. Are you sure about this? I asked him. The separation. It's your family. It's my broken family, Mom. I can't keep pretending everything is fine when the foundation of my marriage was a lie. The kids? The kids will be better off in an honest home, even if it's divided, than in one full of secrets and manipulation. He was right, but it hurt anyway. I love you, Mom, Michael said, resting his head on my shoulder like he used to when he was a boy. And I'm going to prove it to you, every day from now on. I know, son. I know. That night, I lay in my bed, which I had retrieved from the small room and put back in my master bedroom, and I stared at the ceiling. I had won my house back, but I had lost the illusion of the perfect family. Was it worth it? I looked around. My room, my space, my restored dignity. Yes, it was worth every tear. Will Chloe follow through with the public apology? What will happen when the world learns the truth? Justice is not finished yet. The next morning, I came down at 6, as always. I made coffee, set out some donuts I had bought the day before. The house smelled different, lighter, as if the smoke from a fire that had been smoldering for years had finally cleared. Michael came down at 7. He had dark circles under his eyes but looked calmer. Good morning, Mom. Good morning, son. Did you sleep? A little, but well. And you? Better than I have in months. Chloe didn't come down until 9. Her hair was in a messy bun, no makeup, wearing the same clothes from the day before. She looked small, vulnerable. Good morning, she said in a dull voice. No one answered. She poured herself coffee in silence. She sat at the table far away from us. At 11 in the morning, she was still there, staring at her phone. It's almost noon, I reminded her. She looked up. Her eyes were swollen from crying. I know. Are you going to honor your part of the deal? There was a long moment where I thought she would say no, that she would get up and leave without another word, that she would lose even the chance to see her children regularly. But then she nodded. I need to record something. Can I use the yard? Go ahead. Chloe went out to the garden with her phone and a small tripod she took from her bag. I watched her through the window, positioning the camera, testing angles, fixing her hair. Even at her lowest, she was still vain. But then she started recording, and what she said took me by surprise. I couldn't hear her from inside, but I saw her face, the tears streaming, how she wiped her eyes, how she gestured with her hands, how her voice broke. She recorded. Stopped. Recorded again. She did it 4 times. When she finally came inside, she showed me her phone. Before I post it, I want you to see it, so you know I kept my word. I pressed play. Chloe appeared on the screen. No filters, no makeup. Just her, with red eyes and a trembling voice. Hi everyone. I know many of you saw a video I posted 2 weeks ago, one where I made fun of my mother-in-law, where I called her useless, where I said it was her obligation to take care of my house and my kids. She paused, took a deep breath. That video was cruel. It was unfair. And it was a lie. My mother-in-law is not useless. She is the hardest working woman I know. She built the house we live in with her own hands. She paid for every brick by working double shifts after being widowed with a young son. She raised my husband all by herself. And when we got married, she opened the doors of her home to us without asking for anything in return. Tears were streaming freely now. And I repaid her with mockery, with public humiliation, with disrespect. Not just in that video, but in my daily life, I treated her like she was my employee, like she owed me something, when the truth is, I owe her everything. She wiped her face with the back of her hand. She was never obligated to help us. Every meal she cooked, every child she watched, every bit of space she gave up was a gift that I took as if it were my right. And it wasn't. I'm making this video because I owe her a public apology. To her and to all the mothers-in-law, and grandmothers who are treated as if they're invisible, as if their work isn't valuable, as if their sacrifice doesn't matter. Her voice broke. I'm sorry. I'm truly sorry. And I understand if you never forgive me. But I needed you to know, and for everyone to know, that I was wrong. Completely wrong. And to all the people who applauded that video, who laughed, who commented horrible things about her, think twice before you make fun of someone you don't know. Behind that mother-in-law is a story of strength, sacrifice, and love that I failed to value. The video ended. I stared at the blank screen. Is it enough? Chloe asked in a small voice. It wasn't perfect. There were parts that sounded rehearsed. But there was something genuine in her breakdown, in her tears. Post it, I said finally. She nodded. Her fingers trembled as she pressed the buttons. She added a caption. The apology I should have given from the start. Publish. The video was there, on her profile, visible to her 230,000 followers. Done, she said. It's done. Michael, who had been watching from the doorway, nodded. Now, pack your things. I'll help you look for an apartment this afternoon. Chloe went upstairs without another word. An hour later, my phone started vibrating. It was Megan, my cousin. Did you see? Did you see? See what? Your daughter-in-law's video. It's blowing up. Eleanor, it's everywhere. I opened TikTok on my phone. Chloe's video already had 50,000 views, and climbing. The comments were multiplying by the second. Wow, at least she had the guts to apologize. You don't see this every day. Respect. I wish my daughter-in-law had this humility. Plot twist. The mother-in-law turned out to be the hero. But there were others, too. Nice video, but the damage is done. She's only apologizing because she got caught. These influencers and their fake drama for views. The video hit 100,000 views in 2 hours. And then Megan called again. Cousin, do I have your permission to tell your side? People are asking. They want to know what really happened. Your story needs to be told. I hesitated. I didn't want to be the center of attention. I didn't want to expose my life any further. But then I thought of all the older women who are treated as invisible, as burdens, as obligations. Do it, I said, but with respect. Don't attack anyone. Just tell the truth. Megan worked fast. That same afternoon, she posted a video. It showed her in her kitchen, with her colorful apron and her warm voice that had made her famous. Hello, family. Today I'm going to tell you a true story. About a woman I've known since I was a little girl, my cousin Eleanor. And she told everything. Not the intimate details, not with full names. But she told the essence. A widow who built a house on her own, who raised her son with love and sacrifice, who opened her home to her daughter-in-law, who was publicly humiliated, who discovered a plan to steal her assets, and who finally fought back with dignity and justice. This is a story about dignity, Megan said, looking straight at the camera. About knowing your worth. About not letting anyone, not even your own family, treat you like you're disposable. Megan's video exploded even more than Chloe's. 1 million views in 6 hours. The comments were an unstoppable river. I'm crying. This is my mom's story. My grandmother went through the same thing. Thank you for giving her a voice. All mothers-in-law deserve respect. They are mothers, too. We need more stories like this. Of women who don't back down. But what I didn't expect was what happened next. Other content creators started reacting to the video. YouTubers, TikTokers, Instagrammers. All telling their own stories of grandmothers and mothers being mistreated, of families taking advantage, of older women taking back their power. Respect for mothers-in-law became a trend. Dignity over 60 became a trending topic. My story, without me even looking for it, had become a movement. 3 days later, a reporter from a morning news show called the house. Mrs. Vance, we'd love to interview you. Your story is inspiring thousands of people. I don't know. I hesitated. You don't have to show your face if you don't want to. It can be from the back, with your voice altered, however you prefer. But your message is changing conversations across the country. I thought about it for hours. Finally, I agreed. The interview was filmed in my living room. Me, sitting in my blue armchair, my back to the camera, with my voice unaltered because I decided I had nothing to be ashamed of. The reporter asked me everything. What was it like building the house alone? How did I feel about the video? What led me to the decision to remove their things? What did I want to say to other women in my situation? I want to tell them they are not alone, I said, looking toward the window where the sunlight was streaming in. That your value isn't in what you do for others, but in who you are. That being kind doesn't mean being invisible, and that it is never, ever too late to take back your dignity. The interview aired the following Monday. It had 3 million views in the first week. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing with messages, from distant cousins, from neighbors, from school friends I hadn't seen in 40 years. But the message that impacted me the most was from a woman I didn't know. Dear Mrs. Vance, my name is Patricia. I am 72 years old. I've lived with my son and daughter-in-law for 8 years. They treat me just like you described, invisible, useful only to clean and watch grandkids. I saw your story and cried all night. But this morning, I called a lawyer. I'm going to get my house back. I'm going to get my life back. Thank you for teaching me that there's still time. Thank you for showing me that grandmothers have a right to be happy too. I saved that message like a treasure, because I realized that all the pain, all the humiliation, all the difficult process had been worth it not just for me. It had been worth it for all the Patricias of the world, for all the women who once believed their sacrifice made them invisible, for all those who thought it was too late to fight back. Meanwhile, Chloe had found a small apartment on the north side. She moved in with just the basics. The kids visited her on weekends. Michael and she started couples therapy, though neither of them knew if the marriage would survive. But that was no longer my battle. I had fought mine, and I had won. What will happen to the family now? Will there be reconciliation, or is this the end? The final chapter is about to begin. 2 months later, the house had found a new rhythm, a more honest, more balanced one. Michael got up early and made breakfast 3 times a week. The other days I did, but because I wanted to, not because it was my obligation. On weekends, we cooked together while the kids set the table. We had made a schedule on a whiteboard that hung in the kitchen. Monday, Michael cleans bathrooms. I cook. Tuesday, I clean the living room. He cooks. Wednesday, we both cook. Kids help clean their room. And so on. The house was no longer a place where one person carried the entire load. It was a home where everyone contributed. On the 5th of every month, Michael would hand me an envelope with $500. I put it in a savings account I had opened just for that money. Mom, it's too little, he had said the first time. Let me give you more. No, this is symbolic. It's to remind you that living here is a privilege, not a right. And that privilege comes with responsibility and respect. He had nodded, finally understanding the lesson. The children were thriving in this new environment. Olivia had become more communicative, Noah more confident. I was teaching them to make pies on Saturdays, to plant herbs in the garden, to value what they had. Grandma, Olivia had asked me one afternoon while we were kneading pie dough, "Why doesn't Mommy live here anymore?" It was the question I had been waiting for. I sat down at her level, my hands still covered in flour. Sometimes grown-ups make mistakes, honey, and when those mistakes are big, they need time to fix them. Your mom made mistakes with me and with this family, and now she's working on being better. But will she come back? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But what I do know is that you and your brother will always be loved. By your mom, by your dad, and by me. Do you love us more now that Mommy's not here? She asked, with that brutal innocence of children. No, sweetie. I loved you just the same before. The difference is that now I have space to show it without being exhausted all the time. She looked as if that made perfect sense. Maybe to a child, it did. Chloe still came by on Sundays. She took the kids to the park, to the movies, out to eat. She brought them back before 6 in the evening. At first, our encounters were tense. She would arrive, pick up the kids, and leave. She wouldn't even look me in the eye. But over time, something changed. One Sunday, after 3 months of this arrangement, Chloe knocked on the door instead of honking the horn. I opened it. "Mrs. Vance," she said. Her voice was different, softer, without that arrogance she used to carry. Can we talk? Just for a few minutes. The kids can wait in the car. I let her in. We sat in the living room. Me in my blue armchair, her on a wooden chair I'd brought from the dining room. I want to thank you, she began, and held up a hand when she saw I was about to interrupt. Please, let me finish. I nodded. I want to thank you for not letting me get away with it. For not letting me continue to be that horrible person I was. For setting boundaries when no one else would. Her hands were shaking slightly. I've been in therapy, individual, twice a week, and I've realized a lot of things. About how I always looked for shortcuts, how I always wanted the easy way out, how I used people without even realizing I was doing it. Chloe, I started. Please let me finish, she repeated. Please. I closed my mouth. You didn't deserve any of what I did to you. Nothing. And the worst part is, for a long time, I didn't see it. I didn't see my cruelty. I didn't see my manipulation. I had convinced myself I was being smart, strategic, practical, when the truth is, I was just selfish and cruel. A tear rolled down her cheek. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect us to be family again. But I needed you to know that what you did, it changed my life. It forced me to look in a mirror, and I didn't like what I saw. And now I'm trying to be someone different. Someone my kids can be proud of. She stood up. That's all. I just wanted to tell you that. Chloe, wait, I said before she reached the door. She stopped. Please, sit down. She returned to the chair, cautious. I wasn't perfect either, I said, and I saw her surprise. I made myself too small. I gave in too much. I let my boundaries get erased until they disappeared. And that wasn't right either. But you were just being generous. No, I was being a coward. I was afraid that if I set boundaries, my son would leave me. That if I said no, they would stop loving me. So I said yes to everything until there was nothing left of me. I took a deep breath. You took advantage of that. Yes, but I allowed it. And that's my part of the responsibility. That doesn't justify. No, it doesn't justify anything. But it does explain how we got here. And if we're going to heal, as a family, not necessarily like before, but as people who share grandchildren, then we need to be honest about all of it. Chloe wiped her eyes. Do you think you'll ever be able to forgive me? I thought about it. I really thought about it. I don't know, I answered honestly. Forgiveness is complicated. It's not a switch you flip. It's a process. But what I can tell you is that I don't hold a grudge. I'm at peace with what happened because it gave me back something I had lost. My dignity, I understand. And one more thing, I added. I've seen how you've been with the kids these past few months. More present, more attentive. That speaks well of you. It means you're really trying to change. She nodded, unable to speak. Keep it up. For them and for you. Chloe stood up, came over, and to my surprise, she hugged me. A brief but genuine hug. Thank you, she whispered. For everything. Even the hard stuff. After she left with the kids, I stayed in the living room thinking, had I really forgiven her, or had I just let go of the anger? Maybe it was a bit of both. Maybe forgiveness wasn't about forgetting, or pretending it never happened. Maybe it was just deciding that the pain no longer controlled my life. The evening light fell softly on the garden. I poured myself a cup of coffee and went out to the yard. I sat on my concrete bench under the lemon tree I had planted 37 years ago. The branches were full of yellow lemons, fat and perfect. I thought about everything that had happened. The video, the humiliation, the discovery of the plan, the move, the confrontation, the separation, the viral story. And I realized something. I hadn't just won my house back. I had won my voice. For decades, I had been silent. I had accepted. I had yielded. I had believed that loving meant disappearing. But now, I knew different. Loving meant having healthy boundaries. Loving meant respecting yourself as much as you respect others. Loving meant knowing when to fight and when to let go. My phone vibrated. A message from an unknown number. Mrs. Vance, my name is Elena. I saw your interview 2 months ago. Today, I signed the deed to my house in my name. My son can no longer threaten to kick me out of the house I bought. Thank you for teaching me that it's never too late to take back what is yours. God bless you." I smiled. I saved the message with the hundreds of others I had received in recent months. Stories of Patricias and Elenas, of Rosas and Marias, of women who had found strength in my story to write their own. That was my true inheritance, not the $500,000 house, but the certainty that my life had served a purpose bigger than myself. Michael came out to the yard. "Mom, are you okay?" "Yes, son. I'm more than okay." He sat next to me on the bench. "Do you know what day it is today?" he asked. I thought. It wasn't anyone's birthday, not an anniversary. No. What day? "It's been exactly 3 months since everything changed. Since you got your house back. Since I got my mother back." He took my hand. "These have been the hardest 3 months of my life. The divorce, the therapy, realizing who my wife really was. But they've also been the best. Because I got to see you again, the real you, not the one who made herself small, but the warrior you always were, the one I just didn't know how to see." "Michael, let me finish," he smiled. "You sound like Chloe when you do that." We laughed. "I want you to know that I'm proud of you, not just for what you did, but how you did it, with dignity, without destroying needlessly, even giving Chloe a chance to redeem herself. Everyone deserves a second chance," I said. "Yes, but not everyone takes it. I think Chloe is trying. I don't know if our marriage will survive. Honestly, I don't think it will. But at least now we're honest. And that's better than the comfortable lie we were living in." We sat in silence, watching the sun set behind the trees. "Mom, I have something for you," Michael said, taking an envelope from his pocket. "What's this?" "Open it." Inside was a legal document. I read it carefully. It was a formal renunciation by Michael of any claim to the house. A document where he declared that he recognized the house was mine and mine alone, and that he would not seek to inherit it or claim it under any circumstances as long as I lived. "Michael, you don't have to." "Yes, I do. I need you to know that I'm staying here because you allow me to, not because I have a right to, and that if you ever decide you want your space back completely, I will respect that without question." Tears threatened to fall, but I held them back. "You are my son. This house will always be your home. But thank you for understanding. Thank you for teaching me what it really means to be a man. It's not protecting your own comfort. It's protecting the people you love, even when it means confronting hard truths." That night, after putting the kids to bed, I sat in my bedroom. The master bedroom. My bedroom, with my bed, my vanity, my view of the garden. I took out my old notebook, where I had written so many things over the years, and I wrote, "Today, I understood that true wealth isn't in what you own, but in what you refuse to let anyone take from you. Don't let them take your voice, your dignity, your right to take up space in your own life. Because once you get those things back, no house, no money, no comfort can compare to the peace of knowing you are whole." I closed the notebook. I turned off the light, and I slept deeply. No nightmares, no worries, no fear. Because finally, after 68 years, I had learned the most important lesson. You are not old. You are not useless. You are not invisible. You are a woman who built empires with her hands, who loved with all her heart, who fell, but got back up, who was humiliated, but not destroyed, and who, in the end, proved that grandmothers are not made of glass. We are made of steel. If this story touched your heart, I want you to know something. You are not alone. Whether you are going through something similar, whether you know someone who is, or whether these words simply moved you, I want you to remember this. It is never too late to get your dignity back. It is never too late to set boundaries. It is never too late to remind yourself, and everyone else, who you really are. It doesn't matter your age. It doesn't matter how long you've been giving in. It doesn't matter how many times you've been made to feel invisible. You are still you. Whole, valuable, powerful. Leave me a comment. Where are you watching this story from? Did you identify with what Eleanor went through? I would love to read your story too. And if this story moved something inside you, give me a like and subscribe to the channel. Here, we share real stories of real women who refuse to be invisible. Because our stories matter, our voices matter, and above all, we matter. Until the next story, everyone. And remember, grandmothers don't give up. Grandmothers conquer back. The end.